Hey YouTubers, Facebookers and Instagrammers, welcome back to Hampshire Spaniel Training, and I'm going to talk about a very controversially topic today, which is recall. I've made a video on this before and I just wanted to sort of clarify my take on it. If you buy a working breed Spaniel like a Cocker or a Springer, by nature they are natural hunting dogs. They're a dog that wants to get out and about, find things, and if left to their own devices, they'll typically hunt to find, chase. In a perfect world, they'd catch, and then they'd probably try and eat it if they then had chance. That's what happens if you let their natural instinct play out into fruition. Okay, and as a gun dog trainer, we're slightly playing with those elements. So we are encouraging the dog to hunt, we're suppressing the chase, we're encouraging the go get, and then we're suppressing the damage, i.e. the dog bringing the bird back without it being damaged. And depending on how we train, whether we get those right instincts correct and the balance correct. The problem is when we buy these working breed dogs and then we label them as a domestic pet, we then overlook a lot of the time the sort of things that can then end up happening. And as I said, just because you put a collar on your dog doesn't mean that that exempts you from a lot of these natural dogs' desires. Now, don't get me wrong, some of these dogs are going to vary massively depending on how well they are bred. Some dogs are going to be absolute lunatics and other dogs aren't going to say boo to a goose and quite possibly never cause you any problems at all. But often you don't really know what type of dog you've got until you're a certain way in. And often, typically, by the time you're a certain way in, you've probably already realized you've got problems if you're going to. And if you don't have problems, you're probably not going to be watching this video and you're not going to think anything else of it. But if you go looking for a magic recall or salvation for that, then I personally think you're barking up the wrong tree, excuse the pun. For me, it's about learning how to manage that natural instinct of your dog, because if you don't learn to address it and you don't embrace it, the likelihood is that your dog is going to end up getting away from you and it's going to end up chasing something. And the elixir of life for your Spaniel is chasing something. And at that point, they're not looking back for any magic recall that you're doing. So it's about learning and I've talked about this in tons of videos, about entertaining your dog in front of you, which is why I'm a massive advocate of retrieving, because there are a plethora of different things that you can teach your dog to do that keep the dog's focus on you rather than finding that hedgerow, hunting up it and being away from you. And once they start doing that, that's a really difficult habit to correct. And just trying to rely on one to get the dog out of trouble, sometimes it might work if there's nothing better going on, but I can almost guarantee you if there is a bit of game in there and they get a bit of a whiff of it and they've had a few opportunities on that, your recall whistle is like absolutely useless. So for me, it's not about getting to that point in the first place. The majority of my training is based around not allowing a habit to develop rather than seeing if it happens and then fixing it, because fixing bad habits and issues is 10 times harder than preventing them. So, for example, if you go back and watch Charlie's vlog series, I'll list all the videos in the bottom of this so you can watch it in order. I'm not saying you have to go to the level that I have, but learning how to embrace and control this natural hunting dog that you've bought, and understanding the parameters of how far to let it go and how to go about training that. Again, I made a video on this recently. Best bit of advice I can give you is get help from day one. Don't try and muddle through training a Spaniel yourself if you've never done it, because I can guarantee you, if you think it's going to be easy, it's probably going to be a bit of a shock. And we really want to avoid you looking for help once you've created problems. It's much better to have help from the start that helps you avoid those. So I spend all my time trying to avoid issues. I'm trying to keep the focus on me, keep the dog on me, keep the dog's focus through something such as retrieving. If your dog's not got particularly strong retrieve drive, learning how to hunt and stop the dog in a short, close range area. Most professional handlers are not letting their dogs go very far, probably no more than about 15 or 20 feet, absolutely max on them. But they're keeping their dog focus and keeping their dog's focus on them and not allowing them to become independent. Because by nature, especially Cockers, but Springers also, are quite independent dogs. And if they get happy and comfortable hunting away from you and finding stuff, that's typically where they'll want to be. And that just leads over the months to come that the dog just gets further and further away from you. Now, if you're one of these people with a 10%er, which is a dog that just never does anything wrong or doesn't show any of these strong attributes, then you're laughing, but then you're probably not going to be watching this video. But as I said, if you are looking for help just to be able to control your dog through a recall whistle, I personally don't think that's realistic. Okay, especially if you're putting the dog under pressure. So embrace, learn how to manage the dog, learn how to stick the dog in around you. I never use recall. The only time I'm using anything that could be described as a recall whistle is when I'm trying to get that dog back to me in the shooting world. This is maybe it's got a wing across its face, it can't see me, and it's literally just trying to pick me out via sound. But apart from that, I never use a recall to get myself out of trouble, because all my other training is what is keeping me out of trouble. Anyway, I hope this makes sense. If you watch any of my other videos, then you might see me using some of my training products. You can get those all available over on our Facebook page, Spaniel Training Kit. If you're getting a new puppy, you've got a new puppy, or you're looking for some help, it may be worth looking at our other page, Hampshire Spaniel Training. I specialise in looking after people from 8 weeks onwards, where I set out all the structure and guide you through that process. But as I said, if you are struggling now, and maybe it's really early on, reach out for some local help from a Spaniel specialist. Don't leave it, because that will burn away very, very quickly. And a couple of steps or a little chase leads on to a longer chase. And it's typically a chase or the dog getting away from you that leads you to thinking that a recall is what's going to get you out of trouble, when typically it's not. It's about learning how to manage the dog in front of you. Anyway, hope it's been some use. New vlog series coming in the new year. Happy training, guys.